Great. Hi, I'm Sharron Barnett-Jensen and I'm here at the Yes Centre and I run the Mums at Yes group. I'm the parent support coordinator for that, and it's an informal group of parents of disabled youth, teenagers, and we get together and we swap information that some of us with older children have gathered along the way to make it a little bit easier for those that are coming up in the ranks.
Could you give us some background on Mums at Yes and how it came about?
How it came about was I was frustrated with the lack of information about what's out there in the disability sector, and knew it was out there but didn't know how to get it. So fumbled along the way over the years. When Jess turned 16, she started at FAB, which is when I met Sonia Thursby, which is great. And then a few years later, I was wanting to get a job within the disability sector to find out more about what is available. So like if you want to learn how to cook, get a job in a restaurant. Same scenario. So I approached Sonia and I was fortunate enough that she was able to offer me a position to be me, basically. So I come to work as a parent of a disabled child and share the information that I've gathered along my journey, and it's been an amazing and very humbling experience. Yeah.
What does Mums at Yes involve? What do you actually do?
Like we've had our last few meetings have been on individualised funding. So we had Coach Ainsley from Manawanui come and talk to us about sort of hands-on approach. And I also had mums that have already got individualised funding up and running, sharing their experience for other parents that are thinking about the logistics of that. Is it right for them? Is it not? So rather than talking about somebody that works in the sector, talking to another parent who's actually walked the walk has a much more realistic impact on our life, because they're coming from the same place, and often we don't have to explain as much because other parents get it because they're walking the same walk. So that was a fabulous meeting.
So it sounds to me a lot of parents have the same sort of issues, they have the same sort of questions.
The same frustrations, the same frustrations. It's, we know the information's out there, but how do we get it? Whether you're trying to find out what services are available for WINS or needs assessors or who's good at this, because I mean in any industry there's good and bad. So it's like I can tell them from my personal experience about an amazing OT that we've used, or I'll have a parent phone me and say, I'm thinking about homeschooling my son, he has autism, blah, 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 what are the logistics? I send it out to my Mums at Yes, and I've currently got about 200 people on that contact list now, and the information that comes back to me, again, parents are taking time out of their really busy day to share their experiences for that other family so that they can make informed, on the ground, realistic choices, and it's great. It's really, really good. So, and there was another mum who wanted to find out about how do I get funding for a trike. Oh my gosh, I overflowed her inbox with responses that I got. And it's all of those questions which empower me with knowledge so that the next mum that comes along and says, how do I get funding for rah-de-rah, I can say, okay, there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this. So wow. It just works really well. It's networking on the ground. It's not service providers saying wah, wah, wah. It's parents sitting around a table, having a cup of coffee or a wine on occasion, whatever. Especially if it's a Friday afternoon, and just sharing the knowledge that's out there.
So my next question, I just want to step away from your role at Mums at Yes. What are the challenges that you've faced as a mother with a daughter? How am I trying to say this? What are the challenges that you've faced as a mother of someone with a disability? And what is the personal struggle? If there is a struggle, I'm assuming a lot by saying struggle.
See, Jess is normal for Jess. At the end of the day, it's like I don't define her by her disability. She is my daughter. As a baby, she was my baby, first and foremost. That was the big picture for me. it wasn't that she was a disability, she was a little girl. And for me it was finding out, early intervention was key for me. So it was finding out what services were available, what was there, what can we tap into, because the sooner we get into it, the better it is for her, the better, the more physical needs, that her physical needs are met, the stronger she will be, and we'll get into a pattern and we'll get up and running.
Nice.
And she's done really well. We did the mother and baby group at Carlson, Smile program. I met some amazing mums there. We got separated in one of the classrooms because one of the mums and I talked too much. That's okay, I like to push the boundaries. And yeah, it's been good. It's scary, there's different stages, and when you just get safe and in a school environment, all the physios are there and everything sort of lines up, and then they have to leave. So that's really scary. And having to resettle into a new system and new people, and re-looking at those milestones that happen. So that's it's going from primary to intermediate, from intermediate to high school, and then from high school to what? That's But you have to have a dream. You have to, like my dream for Jess wasn't that she would leave school and sit at home, watch TV. That's no parent's aspiration for their child. So it's like, okay, well, what's out there? What are the gaps that are missing? And try to fill those gaps. And fight for every cent that she's entitled to. Ask the questions, put it out there, and gather as much information and make informed decisions.
Nice. So, can you tell us a little bit about where you're at as a family and where Jess is at right now?
It's actually a really exciting time. It was a lot of unknowns, and again, keep putting the questions out there, having the dream, having the expectations, and she has left school and she's flying. She's absolutely loving it. I'm with her on a Monday. We do physio. We do a physio session together, neuro rehab. We go and do grocery shopping. We discuss budgeting for the week and what meals we're going to cook. Tuesday she's at a pilot program, which is running really well. Again, that's scaring us, but that's a whole nother working on that one. Wednesday, she is involved in the New Dawn partnership. They do a bit of a disco in the church. She loves that. She's out in the community, meeting new people, making new friends. Northern Arena Swim Centre, they've opened up the hydro pool, so she's going to start hydrotherapy lessons or swimming lessons in an indoor heated pool. Gorgeous, because once you leave school, there's no more Wilson Home, there's a swimming pool, so it's like, but that was such a fantastic service, and such a shame that we could no longer utilise, but yay Northern Arena. They put it actually in the Wilson Home magazine, so I've contacted them, so that's something else that she's doing that she's really excited about. And she has another physio session on a Thursday, which she's walking on a treadmill and really accomplishing and feeling really good about herself. She's getting up, she's getting motivated, and Friday is a day at the pilot program as well. They went to the movies on Wednesday afternoon, and she's loving life. Life is really, really good for her now.
Right.
So if you'd like to be on the Mums at Yes contact list, you can phone 0800 937 937, or you can email me, Sharron, SHARRON, at yesdisability.org.nz, and I'll put you on the contact list, and I regularly send out information that comes in, exciting bits hopefully, what's not relevant, delete, and I also let you know about the up and coming meetings. Some are general meetings, some are meetings with specific topics, and then just RSVP so I know the numbers and I can make sure I've got enough chairs and tea and coffee or wine as the case may be.
So Sharron, what are some of the common questions that come up for parents with people with disabilities?
Respite care, and I don't have a particularly good answer for that one because there's not a lot. After school care, and again, it's a great business opportunity if somebody wants to take it up because there's gaps. And what support services are available, and also what happens to my child or my teenager when they leave school. Those are the big ones. Or my son left school 2 years ago and he's sitting at home in front of the TV. What's out there? You know. But my mantra is you don't know what you don't know, but you also, if you don't know it, you don't know the questions to ask, which is why the Mums at Yes work so well, because it's general conversation, and then you pick up on it a bit and you go, oh gosh, I never knew that. So how would you know to ask that question? So that's why fundamentally it works. It seems to work really well. The feedback I get is great. So whilst I'm getting that good feedback, I'll keep going.
Would you say there's more relevance to your group as opposed to organisations that are actually funded to deliver information? Would you say there's a difference in what you do?
I think the way I run my meetings is really informal. So there's often not service providers there, unless you specifically say, set up a meeting with service providers. And I think when there are service providers there, you are less likely in a sort of a seated situation, in chairs, you're less likely to ask a question for fear of asking a silly question. So you sit there and you don't ask. Whereas around the table, lots of parents talking, nobody's overhearing over another person, or it's a more comfortable environment. It's not a classroom type environment. So that way, it seems to be more user friendly. It'll come down to somebody will say to me, I'm looking at getting a larger car seat for my daughter. And then one of the other mums will say, oh gosh, I've got one that we no longer use. It's those sort of connections, and that wasn't even what the meeting was about, but it's that sort of networking, those sort of opportunities, which, that mum's up and running now. So, well, potentially, last I heard, it's those sorts of things that you can walk away from a meeting like that and go, tick, that's great. And just so that you're not alone, so you don't feel that you're walking the walk on your own, and it's okay, you can say to another mum who's a parent of a disabled child, that week was really hard, that really sucked. And they know that you can feel okay about that and not be judged for that, and that's just that week, because most weeks it's fine. So it's nice to have that unity, that unspoken unity.
Now, the name is Mums at Yes. Are fathers welcome to this group?
Absolutely. It just came about because I got known as the mum at Yes, because of the baking, and I'm such a mother. Asked that young man in the car park crying the other day, who was a complete stranger, and I went up and put my arms around him, because that's just who I am. I'm a mum, and I'm all good with that. So that's how Mums at Yes came about, just me.
But fathers are welcome.
Absolutely. Awesome. Fathers, grandparents, caregivers of any gender, I'm not discriminating. That's just how the name came about.
Awesome.
From me.
Thank you. So, do you have any advice for new parents that have just discovered they have a child with a disability?
Absolutely. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not necessarily a train. And the best way to get, I think, a handle on how your life is still going to be okay, and so is theirs, is to talk to other parents who've walked that walk a little bit further ahead of you. All is well in Jessica's world and ours. It's not stopped us. We've done P&O cruises. I've flown her to Perth. We're going to Rarotonga in October. We went to Fiji a few years ago. We still do. We try not to put those barriers in front of us. Yes, sometimes it's a little bit tricky, but don't overthink it. Just keep going. Just hit the ground running and enjoy, because first and foremost, they are children, they are babies, and we love them.
Sharron, thanks so much for your time today. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, guys.